Hello again, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, meteorologist with the National Weather Service. I'll be hosting today's show. Up first weather graphic here is the breakup map for Saturday, May 9th. And that shows some open water from Fort Yukon there along the Yukon River on down toward Ottenweller or so, and then back to mostly open from there downstream, and then the lower stretch of the Yukon, of course, mostly ice yet, but the Kuskokwim River now lost the watches and flood warnings and watches there, and just it looks like mostly open now, except for the green area there toward the mouth of the Kuskokwim River, and then some flood advisories for the Tanana Valley rivers due to high water levels, snow melt, and a flood watch for the Buckland River at Buckland. And we'll see as we go to the hazardous weather graphic what we've got here. The illuminated areas, Greater Fairbanks area, 40 Mile Country, Upper Tanana Valley for high water levels, but there is a flood watch out through Monday, tomorrow night into Monday for Goodpaster River. Continue possible flooding there due to snow melt and high water conditions. And again, for the Buckland River at Buckland, for the same reason, snow melt, ice melt, and elevated water levels could result in possible flooding in that area. Moving on, satellite imagery. Pretty good storm out over the far western Bering Sea, and most of the energy in the strongest part of the front pushing up into the Russian Far East, but hanging together enough to bring some pretty gusty winds, 30-40 miles an hour to St. Lawrence Island with some rain. Then you can see it really kind of weakens and becomes diffuse. The cloud shield not looking all that impressive as you head down toward the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians, and a narrowing band of precipitation edging eastward. Breezy conditions and showers out over the Aleutians, especially toward Chimney-Attu and closer to the low center. Then we have southeast flow aloft, kind of the remnants of a front, spreading variable mid and high level clouds in across southern Alaska, and some rain in Kodiak Island, showers today, some of that spilling into the Alaska Peninsula, Aleutian Range area, and Bristol Bay, mostly the Kilburg, Auckland mountain areas, and maybe along the southwest coast, but nothing significant. Variable clouds, good VFR day up along all of the Arctic coast and North Slope today. Just some higher level clouds there and light winds. And the southeast coast, not bad, variable clouds there, dry conditions, and another sunny, warm one. In the interior, temperatures in the 60s to mid-70s this afternoon through the central and eastern interior areas, and into the 60s for the Susitna Valley and Kenai Peninsula area. Otherwise, on the chart today, you can see the showers scattered from Kodiak Island into the Aleutian Range area and over the southwest mountains, and a couple up over the lower Yukon River Valley and Delta area, but nothing really too significant. And a band of light rain there with that front that's stalling out now along the Alaska Peninsula, and a couple of troughs back out to the west with tighter gradient over the western Aleutians, producing pretty gusty winds there and tightening gradient in advance of the front. Had a windy day for St. Lawrence Island, especially Gamble, not so much at Savunga, but still breezy and some occasional light rain there. Low pressure just generating clouds up there in the eastern Arctic coast with no precipitation, mostly sunny, as I mentioned, warm, and just some clouds, upper Tanana Valley area, but temperatures still in the 60s to mid-70s at mid-afternoon. And high pressure at the surface, fairly strong, 1,025 millibars over the Susitna Valley and the Talkeetnas, but wind flow aloft carrying moisture in the form of mid and high level clouds into the southern part of the state and to a lesser extent over the Panhandle. Looking at the forecast for tonight, variably cloudy, mostly clear over the eastern interior, and variably cloudy for the central and western interior. Areas of low clouds and fog for the Arctic coast, North Slope. areas, and still some lingering showers will linger around Kodiak Island, the Aleutian Range, and that stationary front will continue to weaken, losing any wind factor at all with it. It's just light, low clouds, fog, maybe some light rain, Alaska Peninsula, on up to St. Lawrence Island. You'll lose the wind later tonight, diminishing, and a pretty good trough brings some breezy conditions and rain in toward the central Aleutians. Tomorrow, a break-off low will form. Not that strong, though, as the main low pulls back into the Russian Far East and weakens. And that front now has nothing pushing it eastward, and it's just dying a slow death from the northern Bering Sea down across the Alaska Peninsula with clouds, wind not a factor, low clouds, fog, just lower flying conditions, areas of light rain, and light rain for the Adak-Atka area. And showers starting to increase once again a little bit over the southwest part of the state, mostly sunny elsewhere in the interior with highs in the 50s along the coast to as high as mid-70s over the interior. In fact, maybe even pushing near 80 in some areas of the eastern interior, from Fairbanks on up to the upper Yukon Valley. Another sunny, nice day over the southeast coast. And by contrast, a few flurries with low clouds and fog are possible lingering in the afternoon for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast around Kaktovik, Barter Island. And for the outlook on Monday, gradient tightens there across the Brooks Range, so look for some increasing northeast gusty winds through the passes of the Brooks Range. Otherwise, the thermal trough will keep it sunny and warm with temperatures back at least into the 70s over the eastern interior. Panhandle looking good, variable clouds, especially in the morning, but sunny afternoon, mild temperatures there. Different story for southern Alaska. Some moisture with southeast wind flow aloft will carry a better chance of rain into the western Prince William Sound area, into Turnagain Arm, Chugach Mountains, chance of showers northern Cook Inlet, Manuska Valley, southern Susitna Valley. Next extends across all the southwest interior and then northward to Kotzebue Sound. A couple of very weak troughs keep it cloudy and occasionally showery for the Bering Sea across the Alaska Peninsula, maybe the Fox Islands, especially Unmak Island. Then a break, partly sunny skies with some ridging there over the central Aleutians, and the next system spreading wind and rain into the far western Aleutians, and that may push eastward into the central Aleutians on late Monday night and into Tuesday. Taking a look at low temperatures for tonight, in the 20s, lower to mid for the Arctic coast, and then the North Slope more in a 25 to 30 degree range with lower 30s for Anatuvik and Arctic Village. South of the mountains above freezing, 42 for Yukon, mid-40s over the central interior, higher elevations falling into the upper 30s, Copper River Basin, higher valleys into the mid-30s there. Otherwise, southern Alaska in the 40s with 47, the forecast low for Valdez. And for the southeast coast, lows in the 40s, or upper 30s actually in some areas, to lower 50s, warmest in the south, 41 for Kodiak, lower 40s for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, mid-30s though for the Pribilof Islands. Looks like lows around the frost point there for St. Lawrence Island, and upper 30s or mid-30s to near 40, 35 to 40 for the Aleutians. That'll be followed by afternoon highs, I mentioned, well into the 70s with temperatures up maybe 79. Official forecast for Fairbanks, some areas may push 80, maybe even 81 in some areas, mid-70s everywhere else, with 70-degree readings trying to get its way out into the central Seward Peninsula, Nome in the lower 50s. And we've got lower to mid-60s into the lower Yukon River Valley locations with upper 50s on out to the Delta. Then notably cooler along the coast as it usually is, lower 40s Makoriak and the Pribilofs, 40s for the Aleutians, 45 to 50 Alaska Peninsula, and it looks like mid-60s to mid-70s for the Panhandle. That'll be followed by lows in the 40s for the most part. Again, lower 50s, warmest in the south for the southeast coast, lower to mid-20s up there along the Arctic coast. North Slope about the same, and really not much of a change for the low temperatures for Monday morning. You'll see Sunday morning, lower to mid-40s in the interior, higher valleys, the Copper River Basin, dropping into the mid-30s, maybe down toward freezing, and upper 30s Susitna Valley, lower 40s for the Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula area, as well as Kodiak Island, near 40 for Bristol Bay, King Sam and Dillingham, but Pilot Point, low near 50, and then lower 40s for the Alaska Peninsula, mid-30s for the Pribilofs once again. And highs for Monday afternoon. More clouds and precipitation keep it cooler across the Kenai Peninsula and Cook Inlet, but still near 70 in the Susitna Valley, mid-70s Copper River Basin areas. 75 to 80 once again in the east central interior from Tanana to Fairbanks to North Pole and those areas.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
It's flying weather graphic IFR up along the North Slope and Arctic coast, and then through the Chukchi Sea in toward Kotzebue Sound, through the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, down across Nunivak Island, just east of the Pribilofs, to the Alaska Peninsula. Another area of IFR moving back in across eastern and southern Kodiak Island to the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, mostly marginal for the Aleutians, and VFR, Brooks Range southward into Bristol Bay, Cook Inlet, North Gulf Coast, and the Panhandle. And for the afternoon, stays VFR, southeast coast, eastern Gulf, maybe some marginal VFR showing up along the south coast of the Kenai Peninsula into Kamishak Bay, better chance though for Kodiak Island. IFR, Alaska Peninsula, Yukon Delta coast, including Nunivak Island, St. Matthew Island, and St. Lawrence Island. That'll extend north through the Bering Strait to the northwest coast, marginal, right along the Arctic coast, otherwise VFR for the North Slope. And for Monday morning, got IFR back along the Arctic coast in areas, actually both days, it'd be areas of IFR with some low clouds and fog along the Arctic coast through the Bering Strait area, St. Lawrence Island. And then a pretty good band from the northern Bering Sea down, narrowing as you get down toward the western Alaska Peninsula. Marginal VFR, Aleutians, Bering Sea, Kodiak Island. And a disturbance brings some possible marginal VFR, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet area to the Alaska Range. Otherwise, stays VFR in the interior, as well as the southeast coast. That'll continue through the afternoon as well. Still some marginal VFR now. Prince William Sound from the Gulf there in Middleton Island up into Passage Canal, possibly getting as far west as Whittier. Otherwise, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, VFR into Bristol Bay. Kodiak Island, just some clinging marginal VFR for AKwx, Sitkinak, and Trinity Island areas. IFR for the Alaska Peninsula, Nunivak Island, Pribilofs now, and St. Lawrence Island. Another batch of IFR slipping on up into the western Aleutians and the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Right along the coast, some areas of IFR. Otherwise, the eastern northern interior staying pretty nice through the afternoon. Passes Anatuvik, VFR. Same forecast for Adigan. Next couple of days, all these passes will probably be VFR. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR. And for rainy, good VFR, both tomorrow and Monday. Windy, same forecast. So that means visibility is mostly unlimited. And for Isabel, VFR. Mentesta, VFR. And Tanita, VFR. Portage, VFR. In the chant. Chilcoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, 10,000 feet with the upper level ridging up over the upper Yukon Valley and into Canada. Then sloping back down to 4,000 feet for Bristol Bay and St. Lawrence Island, 2,000 to 4,000 feet. Western Central Bering Sea and the Aleutians, right around 2,000 feet with 8,000 to 10,000 foot freezing levels, right on down across the Copper River Basin and the southeast coast. And from there, we'll take a look at, there we go, icing. Three narrow bands, weak bands, possible, just a threat of some icing. Right across southwest interior into the southwest mountains, another narrow band from Gamble on down, just grazing Nunivak Island to Unmak Island, and another weakening band, but probably the best of the three, pushing into the central Aleutians. That icing mostly light, just isolated, moderate rime from the freezing level to about 10,000 feet or so. And taking a look at the jet stream, got ridging from actually the western U.S. extending right up across western Canada into the central and northeast interior, on up into the Chukchi Sea near Wrangell Island. And southeast winds, 70 to 80 knots coming in. That's eventually going to push some moisture into southern Alaska, probably tomorrow night and on Monday, with the upper level low over Bristol Bay. 9,000 feet, southerly strongest northern Bering Sea, 45 knots, 40 knots central Aleutians, and 3,000 feet, strongest winds out over the western central Bering Sea. Taking a look at turbulence, pretty smooth through all of interior Alaska. Slack gradient, no winds, but the eastern and southern and southeastern part of that Bering Sea low, we've got moderate chop working its way into St. Lawrence Island and across the western Aleutian areas. And after the marine forecasts,
it's kind of hard to explain how important weather is to our job. I mean, it really affects everything we do.
In 2018, NOAA launches the GOES-S satellite, which takes its place in orbit as GOES-17. Working together with GOES-16, the two new geostationary weather satellites will provide constant watch over the United States and the Western Hemisphere, from the west coast of Africa all the way to New Zealand, helping monitor severe storms, wildfires, and daily weather patterns. Since its launch, NOAA's GOES-16 satellite has already demonstrated its critical capability for keeping our nation weather ready. Throughout the active 2017 hurricane season, GOES-16 delivered imagery with detail and clarity never achieved before, with 4 times greater resolution than previous NOAA satellites, and delivered this imagery faster than ever before, helping forecasters predict the path of a storm and where and when it will intensify. These accurate and timely forecasts allowed for emergency managers to prepare for evacuations, map flood areas, and save lives.
So the weather matters. The weather matters before the weather happens, and the weather matters after the event happens, because what we're able to do to prepare, allocate resources, provide information to the public through the media beforehand, and what we're able to do afterwards, how and when the waters are going to recede, so we know we can get vehicles with life-saving food and shelter equipment down a particular highway. All of that depends on the forecast.
In the GOES West position, GOES-17 will be able to provide critical data for the westernmost United States, Alaska, and Hawaii.
We're talking about getting data updates in just seconds, so we can quickly spot wildfires and closely monitor the wind direction and their intensity. The crispness of the data coming in at a faster rate will also help with fog forecasts. We can see the moment the strata starts to develop or when it starts to move out.
Like GOES-16, GOES-17 carries a suite of advanced instruments, including tools for sophisticated earth sensing, lightning detecting, solar imaging, and space weather monitoring. As an equal partner in the sky, GOES-17 will expand coverage of the advanced baseline imager technology across the Pacific Ocean, allowing meteorologists and local officials to see severe weather systems developing in real time.
So instead of seeing something, say, this large, that as you zoom in actually gets kind of blurry, you're actually going to see something that is much more detailed.
In its GOES West position, GOES-17 will be able to monitor conditions in the western U.S. like wildfires, coastal fog, and atmospheric rivers when storms from the Pacific dump heavy rain and snow over the western U.S. GOES-17 will have a major impact on fighting wildfires in California. Up-to-the-minute information and crisp detail allows forecasters to spot fires faster than ever before, even before the first 911 calls come in, and to better track and predict the path of large, dynamic, and dangerous fires.
It's amazing to see what we can get and at the level of detail and the speed that we can get the information down into the ground that makes our decision-making way more accurate.
With a view of the Pacific Ocean, GOES-17 will also provide a critical eye over shipping lanes vital to the U.S. economy, protecting cargo and passenger vessels from dangerous ocean storms. GOES-17 will also provide a high-definition view over Alaska, resulting in better weather forecasts and improved monitoring of sea ice, wildfires, and volcanic ash. The advanced baseline imager on GOES-17 can distinguish between clouds, sea ice, and snow cover, a critical need during Alaska's dark, cloudy winter months. GOES-17's geostationary lightning mapper monitors lightning flashes, including the in-cloud lightning most prevalent in severe storms, helping forecasters determine when a storm is forming, intensifying, and becoming more dangerous. Thanks to GOES-17, emergency managers will be equipped with more accurate weather predictions and faster warnings, providing a real impact, saving lives and protecting infrastructure. Watching over Earth from 22,300 miles above, GOES will provide vital data to our weather-ready nation.
Hi, I'm JPSS. I'm a high-tech weather satellite that orbits our planet. I do something called a polar orbit. I circle the Earth from North Pole to South Pole, over and over, while the Earth spins. While I do that, I get lots of information about what's going on around the globe. I watch storms, clouds, and rain. I take the temperature of the ocean, measure air quality, ozone health, and take pictures of the land and sea. This information is used for all kinds of things. It helps us take care of our coasts and oceans and all the amazing things that live there. It helps us monitor harmful weather events like floods and droughts and measure the health of the environment. Most importantly, it helps us predict weather 3 to 7 days in the future. That means I can be a big help ahead of storms, where future warnings are important. I send information to the National Weather Service. They use the information to create forecasts. The forecasts are shared with people all over the country to help prepare for weather emergencies. So you look to the sky and wave. I'll be flying by.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Come back. Looking at coastal water forecast for Sunday. Northerly winds 15, central southern inside waters, north 20 for Lynn Canal. East 25 for the south coast with 8-foot seas, and that turning northeast 25 on the north coast, then dropping down to 15 knots there up along the coast by Yakutat. On Friday, northeast winds at 15 for the extreme north coast with those seas up to 14 feet. Otherwise, the remainder of the coastline, east at 20 with 12 to 13-foot seas. Lynn Canal looking at northerlies at 20 knots with 4-foot seas. And the central southern inside waters, winds northeast 15 knots with 3-foot seas. Prince William Sound, light northwest breeze tomorrow with 2-foot seas, and east at 10 for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Northwest 10 on the west side, back around to the southeast of 15 to 20 knots, Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay. Southern Cook Inlet southwest at 15, and variable to east at 15 for northern Cook Inlet, seas 3 to 4 feet. And for Monday, south to south or west to southwest 10 to 15 for Cook Inlet, southwest 10 for the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay, as well as the eastern North Gulf Coast. Prince William Sound, light west winds at 10 with slight seas. Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait, only looking at 10-knot winds tomorrow. Southeast 15, though, on the Pacific side of the islands. Sitkinak, Cape Saratchev, east at 15, southeast 15 for the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, and Bristol Bay, 15 knots out of the east. Southeast at 10 for Bristol Bay on Monday. Alaska Peninsula, east winds 15 knots, 5 to 6-foot seas, and east to southeast winds there for the greater Kodiak Island area and the surrounding marine waters at 10 knots with 3 to 4-foot seas or 3 to 5-foot seas. On Alaska Island, westerlies tomorrow 10 to 15 knots, Unmac Island southwest at 15, small craft advisories for Adak and Atka, southerlies at 25 knots, southwest 20 to 25 knots for the western Aleutians. On Monday, we've got south to southeast winds, 30 knots, 10 to 11-foot seas for the western Aleutians, Adak and Atka. Small craft advisory, southwest 25, 5 to 8-foot seas. On Unmac Island, west at 15 with 6 to 8-foot seas. On Alaska Island, pretty light out of the west at 10 with 6-foot seas. Norton Sound tomorrow, east at 15, southeast 20 for the southwest coast and St. Lawrence Island. Light winds for the Pribilos with those seas at 13 feet, southeast 15 for St. Matthew Island and 20-foot seas. For the outlook on Monday, west winds 20 knots for for Kuskokwim Bay, with southerlies at about 25 knots there for St. Matthew Island, southwest 25 for the Pribilofs, and northeast at 15 for Norton Sound, turning east for St. Lawrence Island. And for tomorrow, for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, variable at 5, pretty much sums it up for the east side there. And 10 knots out of the north for the central coast, east 15, so a little more of a breeze there for the western Arctic coast. That extends on down to Cape Thompson to Wales, a little breezier, east at 20. And for Monday, northeast 15, east winds 20 knots for the Arctic coast. And for the Wales to Cape Lisburne area, east winds at 10. And for the outlook for tonight, high pressure in the Gulf of Alaska keeps winds light there with variably cloudy skies. Still a risk of some showers, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay. Variably cloudy, mostly over the western interior, more clearing in the east with mostly sunny skies for the Panhandle. And some light rain for the Alaska Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island. And some rain with a trough moving eastward in toward the central Aleutian areas. For Sunday, rain with a weak front from the Alaska Peninsula northwestward there to St. Lawrence Island. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, looking at some flurry conditions with patchy fog, mostly in the east, otherwise not too bad to the west. Another mostly sunny, warm day over the interior, highs 60s to mid-70s to maybe even near 80 over the eastern and central interior. Sunny and mostly sunny and warm for the Panhandle. Mostly cloudy Kodiak Island, and a weak low brings some rain into the central Aleutians, and that really washes out to a trough into the eastern Aleutians the next day. Some showers linger over the Alaska Peninsula. Better chance for some light rain in the Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula area, especially Passage Canal Whittier into western Turnagain Arm down to Seward. Chance of showers northern Cook Inlet, and the western interior cloudier and showerier with some showers all the way up to Kotzebue Sound. Low clouds and fog on the Arctic coast, with mostly sunny skies for the Panhandle. Next storm pushing into the Aleutians with some wind and rain. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.